Andrew, Alan, thanks as always for being with us today and also so creative with the topics that you bring to the group. Hope everybody's doing well. For those of you on the line today, thanks so much for joining us. We are here with our weekly or bi-weekly Ask the Experts. Thanks so much, Andrew and Alan, for lending your expertise and knowledge and tepid mindset. And I think today this is a bit of a great chat. I think you can bring some positivity to the group with a special guest in Stephen Hilgart. Thanks so much, Stephen, also for joining the conversation. We appreciate you joining us today. And these are, in fact, uncertain times. Uncertain may be the most generous of terms. So to bring any level of optimism or certainty to times that are so uneven, I think you guys are the ones to do it. So I appreciate you lending us again your expertise and whatever you have for us to make these times more certain. So I'll let you guys take it away. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nick. We appreciate it. It's good to be here. Getting back at it after a holiday weekend. So yeah, I mean, listen, we all know it's been a struggle, right? And fortunately, I think the struggle now is different than it was 3 months ago, at least for Alan and I, right? Talk to us 3 months ago, it was devastating, right? The conversations were a lot different. Now we're, the past few months, more tuned into, how to take action, how to build. But I know, with the market in general, it's not where we want it to be. And I know we have our ups and downs, and we're, constantly, pushing each other, pressuring each other, to build and to come up with opportunities. And I think there is definitely a silver lining. For us, we are, one little idea, one little nugget, we're able to meet with people that I think prior to COVID would have probably rejected, our meeting, right? Now it's the path of, I guess the barrier of entry is a little lower, right? Because the beauty of Zoom, it doesn't take too much to, say yes to somebody and chat with them for 15, 20 minutes, whereby, pre-corona, pre-COVID, you'd have to meet them for breakfast, meet them for lunch, dedicate an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours out of your day. And especially the way the market was pre-COVID, it was active. A lot of people didn't have the time. So now people have the time. That's kind of, an idea, a little nugget that we can, all get from this. I think there is opportunity just in different ways. And, I don't touch on this, but we've tried to, revamp our firm, also, if you're doing business or marketing or networking the same way you were, pre-corona, is that kind of a fool's bet? Are we missing something? Stephen, just a quick intro. I met him a few years ago through a mutual friend, and we did this a little bit with the real estate community. And back then, they were, talking about, adding value, talking about pushing your business, definitely more sales oriented. We will want to make this more, applicable to today's environment. And the idea was to go to, Tony Robbins events. They've even had a, revamp, and this isn't going to be a sales pitch, I can assure you of that. But they even revamped, right? He was saying on a prior call that 85% of their revenue was in-person events. So think about, a machine like that that's changed their model. Alan, you want to kind of talk about what you're seeing right now?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. So, I guess one of the things, I don't know if I would share with this group, for me, I've commuted to the city from Long Island probably for the last 20 years. Probably the biggest silver lining for me is, as I've been staying home now with my family, I have 3 daughters, two daughters in their early 20s, one late teenager. It's just been an unbelievable experience for me, quite honestly. Having dinners every night with my family, having these drinking games and board games and card games. So for me, even though work is 2 to 3 times harder, and clearly our market has been disheveled a little bit, it's been kind of nice to revisit what's really important in life. And for me, it's been just an unbelievable experience. As far as it goes on the professional side, our pipeline was pretty strong from the first quarter of 2020. So we spent a lot of time over these last 10 weeks just trying to unravel our existing deals. Buyers trying to renegotiate purchase prices, trying to explain to sellers, listen, you're not keeping the down payment. If this buyer is ready to go, let's try to negotiate something. And having a lot of success, quite frankly, in getting deals closed just by trying to get the parties to find that middle ground. I think what Stephen will talk a little bit about, it's all about just, you know, it's our role as brokers, bankers, lawyers to get our New York City real estate environment back up and going. And too many people, landlords, sellers, have always been in command for the last 7 to 10 years. Well, the market clearly shifted last quarter of 19. First quarter of 20, we definitely shifted to a buyer's market. Corona has obviously shifted it all the way to a buyer's market. So your mindset has to change. And I think, Stephen, I'll turn it over to you and let you give us some thoughts on ways to attack this market. How can we help ourselves?
And Steve, just to get started, we have a bunch of questions. So I'll let you get started, and then we'll kind of chime in on
we can do the Q&A too. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, for those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Stephen Hilgart. I'm the head trainer for Tony Robbins. So basically, wherever he doesn't go speak, I go speak. The man changed my life pretty dramatically about 15 years ago. I was homeless on the streets of Chicago for 2 years, scraped together the last of my food money to go see this guy, and was able to turn my life around. And what he taught me during this time was not motivation. It wasn't inspiration. Yeah, sure, a lot of people look at Tony Robbins as this motivational speaker, but the truth is he taught me some real specific strategies. And one of the things that we talked about in a group earlier when I got on the call with Andrew and Alan here, they said, look, you know, here we are, we've got real challenges. Don't bring us motivation, don't bring us inspiration. We got real challenges, we need to know how to fix them. And I said, you know, I've got a couple ideas that can really turn some things around. And I'll give everyone just a quick framework, a brief framework. You know, Tony's been the master at this for a long time. Why? Not because he's motivational, but because he really looked for the answers to the difference that makes the difference. You know, I mention this all the time, but why do some people create financial success and freedom and other people struggle for their whole lives? Why do some people find love, joy, passion in their relationships and others never find somebody? Why is it some people always seem to be physically fit, healthy, energetic, and other people struggle to get out of bed in the morning? So for the last 42 years, this guy's been at this, like looking for those answers. And I've been to some of your offices, downtown, wherever you guys are. I've been to some of these offices. And what's fascinating is you'll see 2 brokers, 2 agents, 2 salespeople in the same office, the same opportunity, the same training, the same inventory, interest rates, taxes, president, weather, the same everything, but yet they produce 2 very different results. See one guy in an office making 10 grand for the year, see another guy making 10 million for the year. But it's so fascinating that there's 2 people in the same time, same place, and yet they're producing different results. And the answer that Tony came up with, that he taught me, was 2 things. The thing that shapes people's destiny, ultimately, number 1, is called decisions. And that's probably what I can give you real briefly, a framework. Every decision we've ever made is kind of run through these 3 things. These are the 3 decisions we're always making. Decision number 1, what to focus on. Are you focused on the problem or the opportunity? Are you focused on the crisis or the challenge? Like, what are you focused on in the moment? Are you focused on everything that's going wrong in your life or everything that's going right? Either way, that focus, not positive thinking, not motivation, because the truth is, you can't just, if you want to be positive, you can't just go to the garden and chant, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. The weeds will come take your garden if you let them. So our job is not to bury our head in the sand, but here's the truth. Intelligent people do not let the external world determine their internal world. No matter what's going on out there, they direct their focus. So that's decision number 1, but decision number 2 is, what does it mean? And if you guys are taking any notes today, I'd suggest you write this down. Meaning equals emotion. Emotion is life. So for a lot of people, this coronavirus, and I'll give you a story in just a brief minute here, just to kind of explain how this whole thing works. But, you know, people are saying it's the end of the world. I'll never be able to pay my bills again. I'll lose my job. I'll lose my business. I'm going to lose everything. The meaning that they've created, very disempowering. And which leads us to the last decision that we're always making, is what we're going to do about it. So decision number 1, what to focus on, what it means, and what we're going to do about it. Now, I told this story earlier today. I'll share it with you guys here too. It's very fascinating because about 3 weeks ago, I get on the line with an office furniture supply company. You know the business. I won't say their name out loud, but they sell office furniture in this division, and their name might or might not begin with office. And so they hire, you know, the Tony Robbins company. They send me in to go work with the team to turn the business around. They're closing down retail stores all across the U.S. right now. They're laying off people by the thousands. They're in a lot of trouble. I get the executives on the line, I get the managers on the line, I get some of the sales force on the line. And as we're having this conversation, I give them this framework. I say, guys, if you understand this, you can turn your business around overnight. Please hear me. And he said, well, okay. And truth be told, they're a little skeptical. Not big Tony Robbins fans in the first place. They just got this business specialist coming in to work with them. And they're kind of, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But I said, no, somebody play with me. I get one of the sales guys on the call, and I ask him, I said, hey, man, what are you focused on? He said, well, you're right. It's definitely coronavirus. All day, every day. I pick up my phone. I see it on my phone. I turn on the TV. It's on the TV. My friends don't even call me anymore to ask me how I'm doing or what I'm up to. They ask me to know what my opinion is of the coronavirus today, right? So that's my constant focus. I understand what you're saying. Okay, what does it mean to you? And he says, well, you heard these guys. We're closing down stores left and right. I don't know if I'm going to have a job next week, let alone a paycheck. I am 100% commission. I haven't sold anything in 3 weeks. I mean, this is not going well. It means I'm not going to be able to afford to feed my family. I don't know what to do, man. I said, great. What are you doing about it? And he kind of joked a little. He says, well, if I'm being honest, I'm drinking a little too much and watching too much Netflix. It's very easy to see that formula, right? If you're focused on everything that's going wrong and you create this meaning that it's never going to work, it's very easy to see what you do is just shut down. So I said, okay, buddy, are you up for a different perspective? Not just positive thinking BS, but are you up for the truth? He says, yeah, okay, give it to me. I want to make some more money. I said, okay. I'm also focused on the coronavirus. Same thing, man, it's hard to get away from. I understand, but the meaning is different. Every single person on this call today has wished, prayed, and hoped for in the last 6 months, God, if I just had more time, I can get my website fixed. If I just had more time, I can nail my sales scripts. If I just had more time, I can prospect more, make more phone calls, connect with people I haven't connected with in years. If I just had more time. To be fair, every one of us has said that in the last 6 months, probably pretty consistently. So I said, man, you got some time. But you know what tells me? In the office furniture supply world, people aren't going to go back to the office the same way they used to, are they? Which tells me the meaning is they're going to need quality office furniture for their home office. Which tells me what you should do is call and check in on every single one of your clients. See how they're doing. See how you can serve them. If they need something from me, if they don't need something from me. He's like, okay, I get it. I said, well, no, buddy, you don't get it. And at this point, like Andrew kind of mentioned, 85% of the Tony Robbins world, well, this one company that the whole brand that everyone sees, 85% of the revenue came from live events. I get sent home just like everyone got sent home. And now here I am, doing all these meetings in my guest room here and trying to make this thing happen. But, I told him, I said, buddy, I had this little folding chair I was sitting on because that was what was in the closet. It was crappy and it was broken and I'm kind of sitting sideways. I pull it up in front of the camera. I wave it in front of his face. I said, dude, for the last 3 weeks, this is the chair that I've sat on because you haven't had the guts to call me. My back hurts. My ass hurts. Man, help me here. Just call me. I need your help, but nobody's helping me. He says, oh, I get it. Well, lo and behold, as I'm sitting here, take a wild guess what I'm sitting on now is a nice office furniture, right? A nice chair. Why do I bring this up? I checked in on them last week. Their sales are up 300%. So the truth today is when we take a look at this, and I'm going to ask Andrew and Alan for their advice here too, because they've shifted their focus. They've shifted their meaning. They said at the beginning, man, it's like we're being knocked down and we got to find a way around it. When they started building momentum, which I believe they're doing now, the difference came down to they created a different meaning and said, you know what, I see some opportunity here. Here's the ability for us to go out and help people. Here's how we can really make this happen. I mean, Andrew, you tell me, am I wrong in that or?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of you can tell that, follow us on, social media. I'm not going aggressive or, on residential purchase sale right now, more so on landlord tenant, right? This has created an opportunity for our landlord tenant department. And although it may not be a huge moneymaker right now, because a lot of it's advice, a lot of it's just kind of giving back to the community and, becoming a resource. David, who runs our landlord tenant department, is slammed every day, all day with phone calls and just kind of being a resource. And I'll tell you, we can be transparent. There's it's more just offering advice. It's not really transactions right now. The courts are closed, so there's no litigation. But eventually, we know, or we hope, right? It may not be in a month, it may not be in 3 months, 6 months, maybe a year. But we've invested our time and effort, even Alan and I, with these Zoom calls with all the everybody's real estate office, with NYRAC, and same idea with the state planning. So yeah, we've definitely put an effort in, and now that things have calmed down emotionally, it's kind of even revamped. The first month it was kind of triage, right? It's a bad term, but it was emotionally devastating, and now it's a whole new world, right? So it's just focusing on and trying to be consistent with our efforts, because there's only so much we do control, right? But it's even for the residential brokers, maybe you spoke to your clients last week and you have no new information to offer, but have you tried to set up meetings with estate attorneys or financial advisors or accountants, right? To hit off a few of those professionals a week, is nothing but, positive, right? And also I think it gets kind of your mind going, right? It's a building block. That's what I find a lot. There's a lot of failures, there's a lot of rejection, but one thing often leads to another, for sure, when you're trying to get yourself motivated and push forward. And
if I can pull up one thing that you said, just that was so beautiful there, Andrew, is that you said at the beginning, it was like triage, it was emotional, heartbreak, it was really challenging. And then the meaning shifted to, it's a whole new world. What a difference in mindset that is right there. Like, look, there's opportunity. There's something I can build here. I can create, I can give, I can really help people, and I can make something happen here. A whole new world is a very different meaning than it's the end. And this is, I should just jump off the Empire State Building, whatever it is, right?
Right, for sure. No, it is. It's a different mentality. Now we're trying to focus on, Alan always says this, there's brokers and professionals, and not just real estate, that will make their careers, right, on this pandemic.
Yeah.
It's going to catapult our landlord-tenant practice, for sure, which, it's interesting how that works, but it's going to help us. So I think for the brokers, listen, when people don't want to list, people don't want to purchase, how do you find the silver lining, Stephen? How do you, what should they focus on? What can they focus on? And certainly a lot of the brokers on this, video are some of the top in our city and successful, but everybody, it's all relative, right? People are having different challenges.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing being around Tony and just the real estate world, when I go out and speak to the C21s or the Remaxes or the Keller Williams, very different market than the cities, right? But what's interesting is no matter where I go, there's somebody who's massively successful, doing 100, 200, 300 transactions in a year by themselves. I've met some of these rock stars. #1 realtor on the planet right now, her name is Danya. She's doing 400 transactions a year by herself. It's freaking insane. When you look at those numbers, you look at that, there's someone who's always successful no matter what the market is doing. But Andrew, I like what you said there, because whether we talk about 2001 or 2008, the people who came out of those time periods, the real challenges that we've had in the past, the ones who had their psychology on point, their emotions in check, they were focused, they were driven, those are the people who took over the market. And I'm guessing that we have some of those people here on the call today who, they learned, hey, I got to work on foreclosures. I got to figure out this. I got to figure out that, whatever it is. They found a way to freaking make it happen in spite of the challenges, in spite of the market, in spite of the economy, in spite of the government, in spite of everything else that was going on. Let's go back to 1918. Who came out of that pandemic absolutely ruling the world? We're talking, people like Andrew Carnegie. We're talking people like, titans of industry. Not because they were so much better, taller, faster, stronger, smarter, but they were the ones who prepared themselves mentally, physically. And Andrew and I were talking about this just before we got on this call. This whole, whether or not you're a Tony Robbins fan, the truth is right now, this motivation mindset thing has been optional for the last 13 years. The market's gone up and up and up and up and up and up for 13 freaking years. We knew that winter was coming. We didn't know that it was going to be because of a global pandemic, but we knew it was coming. The funny thing is right now, this mindset thing, this emotional, this psychology thing, this is mandatory now. For all of us to be able to sit home and really focus on how am I going to control my focus? How am I going to control the meanings that I have inside of my head? And what am I actually going to do about it? mean, that's really what it is. But we have a bunch of questions too, don't we?
Yeah, I guess one of the questions actually falls in line is they say, is our confidence in our abilities to do the best we can for our clients the secret? Is our confidence in our abilities to do the best we can for our clients the secret? Is that kind of, what you're saying?
You know, what's interesting is a lot of people talk about confidence, especially in New York, and it's like it's almost like a bravado thing, right? Same thing in some of these bigger cities. You go into Dallas, they've got kind of the bravado, like this thing going on. There's a difference between confidence and certainty. Confidence and certainty. What's interesting is if you look at someone who's like a fantastic salesperson, they have this certainty that no matter what's going to happen, I'm going to serve you. Whether they get the sale, don't get the sale, it doesn't matter to them. For them, they have this certainty that's so strong, so powerful. If I ask you, Andrew, are you a man? How would you respond?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, but there's no wavering in that answer. There's no questioning like, oh, of course, I'm a man. How do you know your name is Andrew?
It's on my birth certificate.
Yeah, like there's no wavering in that certainty. But that's the same sort of certainty that we have to have in our communication. And I mentioned this before, if you're taking any notes here, Tony taught me, he said, the quality of our life is the quality of our communication. The quality of our life is the quality of our communication, not just with other people, but with ourselves. How we communicate to ourselves, is this going to work? Is it not going to work? If I'm consistently focused on something like, in our brain, we can get really deep into the weeds in the psychology here, which I don't want to do necessarily today. I'll give you guys a little option. If you guys want to come join me for some training, we'll do that. I'll just give it to you for free if you guys want to do that. But here's the thing. When you think of in your mind something working and something not working at the same time, that's how you develop uncertainty. That's how you develop doubt. But someone who constantly sees it working, they have more certainty. Oh, this is going to work out.
I think that kind of touches on another question. Looking for unique ways to stay in touch and remain encouraging. Right? Because I think you can chime in if you want with a comment or a question, but it's been 3 months now, right? Even I find the same challenges. I can't keep talking about the same concept. I've spoken about the rental market, the purchase market. Nobody wants to hear about due diligence. Nobody wants to hear about talking about financial statements today, right? So how do you, if you want to stay in touch with a client, how do you keep connected, when you may not have new information for them?
Yeah. And what's interesting is, you guys are doing this perfectly. Bringing me here, whether this is perfect or not perfect, imperfect, whatever it is, here's something that we can do. You're giving value to the brokers that are out here like, hey, how do I get my freaking mind ready now? It's 3 months. I'm going nuts. How the hell do I turn this around? How do I do this? You've provided me as value to this group. For everyone on the call, whatever your clients are, whatever they're going through, you might want to gift them something other than how do I get you to buy and sell a place? You might want to gift them something that's different than, hey, I got this cool meditation thing for you. Hey, I got this cool book for you. You might want to read this. Hey, we've talked about on the last call, the Michael Jordan documentary. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this yet. It's just a really fun, cool, dive into the psychology of Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time. You might want to call your clients and just talk to them and say, hey, have you watched this thing? Have you checked this out? I know it sounds so silly, but now you're a friend instead of just a sales guy, a sales girl who's coming to take something from them. You're actually giving them value. Look, I'm your real estate broker. I'm your real estate agent. I sure as hell can't sell you a home right now, but I'm going to do something to improve your life. I'm doing the same damn thing right now. I cannot bring you into a room full of 15,000 people with Tony Robbins at the moment. So right now, Tony got on a conference call with me and a couple other people in the company and said, step the F up, go out there, help people, give more than you've ever given, do more than you've ever done. And here's the best part about this. If you're on this call right now, I know maybe no matter how challenged you are at the moment, it's not the end of the world. So all of us on this call have the ability to give more back than the average person. We have the ability to... Go ahead, Andrew.
Go ahead. Yeah. So remember we told you that brokers aren't allowed to show apartments really right now?
Right.
So what's the best way to handle inquiries for listings that you get frustrated when your clients, when you can't show and you hear other agents may be showing? So to stay, you know, valuable to your clients, and when there's competition, whether it's ethical or unethical, and, you know, how do you kind of, you know, position yourself with your clients, and how do you, you know, protect your listings or your clients, or getting that, you know, future business.
Right, right. Well, we just had a call with a woman who said, you know, hey, I just did a complete virtual showing. They went in with the mask by themselves. We FaceTimed. That's being resourceful. It's never a lack of resources that determines our life. It's a lack of resourcefulness. Everyone on this call, real quick, just Andrew, maybe you can answer this for us. Have you ever failed at anything in your life?
Yeah.
Of course, me too. Now, when you ask anybody, why did they fail? What do they normally say?
Blame something or blame somebody else. Or,
Yeah,
you know.
100%. I didn't have the time. I didn't have the money. I didn't know what to say. I didn't have the, you know, I didn't have the inventory, the interest rates, the taxes, the president, the weather. I didn't have that on my side. And I didn't have the right people. I didn't have the right technology. Whenever you ask someone what the truth is they can get resourceful and find a way around those things. I'm not saying you skirt the law. What I'm suggesting is if you're fun enough, playful enough, exciting enough, creative enough, resourceful enough, can we always find a way? And the truth is, yes. This woman just proved it this morning. She said, look, I didn't know what else to do, but I'm going to get on freaking FaceTime. Let's do a virtual walkthrough together. Did you see that thing? Did you see that? Oh, that's cool. Check that out. I know it's tough. For you guys, more than anyone else in the country right now, it's tougher than anywhere else. The vast majority of the country is back to normal. I'm in Arizona right now. Everything is open again. You know, it's a real challenge for you guys because you're going to be a little bit behind for a while. But if that's the truth, how do we get resourceful? How do we get creative? How do we find a way? And maybe, Andrew, you can answer a little bit better. What can they do right now to show a home? If I wanted to list a home in New York, how can I get someone to show it?
Yeah, everybody's aware that just what you're saying, you can do it virtually. The challenge is when you have some, you know, rogue brokers, or, you know, when you have a client giving you a lot of pressure, saying, hey, listen, you know, we need to get this, you know, shown. We need pictures. We need this. We need that. So we can be creative, but I guess what's the answer when there's no answer, right? When you've done all you can, and it still may not be enough right now. I mean, hopefully things will get loosened up in the next few weeks, you know, but, you know, still safety's first. So sometimes there is no answer. I think that's, you know, and dealing with that and maybe being transparent and, you know, understanding that, hey, this is what we're doing and this is where I'm doing this the right way. We're going to protect you. We have your best interests at hand, and it'll get done. It'll get done better when the time's right.
Yeah.
You know, Deanna said they can't go into apartments. So I think the answer sometimes is there isn't a good answer. They're not the answer you want. And, you know, the elephant in the room, and just, you know, discuss it. Discuss what you're dealing with. And listen, it's frustrating for me. It's challenging for me as well, right? We're closing deals, but it takes 3-4 times the effort. It's challenging for us. We can get it done, but it's not fun. So I think that's part of it, just, you know, being transparent.
Yeah, 100%. And you guys, once again, unprecedented challenges. And we still don't have a war blowing up our city. We still don't have also for those stuff. So number one, let's be grateful for what we do have, not just what we don't have. But I'll give you the formula for happiness, if you guys are ready for this. LC equals BP. LC stands for life conditions. BP equals blueprint. What that means in plain English is when our life conditions meet how we think it is or how it should be, then we're happy. If our life conditions do not equal our blueprint, we're unhappy. So what does that mean? When we think things should be a certain way, they are supposed to be a certain way, whatever, and they're not that way, we're unhappy consistently. Tony, when he started to teach me how to actually do coaching and therapy and one-on-one stuff, when I really got to turn around a suicide or someone who's addicted to drugs or alcohol or something like that, he gave me a story of a very, very famous actress that he worked with. I can't tell you her name, but she is in the south of France. She gets on the phone with Tony and says, look, I don't know what this is. I don't know what the truth is. At this point, she was 48 years old. And she said, really sad, really depressed, really frustrated, really upset. Why? Because she had never had a kid of her own. She never had a child. And that was one of the big things that one of her big goals in life was to have a kid. And she just never created that relationship. It just didn't work out. And Now, all of a sudden, barring a medical miracle, probably not going to happen anytime soon. And Tony taught her this formula. He said, look, if your life conditions I have to have a kid, and this is the only way I'm going to be happy, if that's the blueprint, you are never going to be happy. You only have two choices in life: change your conditions or change your blueprint. Now, what I'm suggesting is that you don't just lower your standards and accept the world the way it is, but there's many different ways around it. For this woman who physically probably can't have a child of her own, would it be all right to adopt? Would it be all right to take somebody in, foster children? Would it be all right to get a dog? I mean, would that be the same for you? I mean, what is it for you that would meet that blueprint? Because in life, as Andrew is saying, yeah, life isn't fair. It's never going to work out the way we want it to. And if we believe that something has to be a certain way, and it's not that way, we're never going to be happy.
I have a good question. I don't know if it's a little outside, but so renegotiation of price or trying to get parties to work together, to come to a new price term. We're spending a lot of time trying to encourage, brokers and clients, to find a middle ground. It's not worth fighting. It's not worth, rolling your sleeves up. We have to kind of come to, meeting of the minds, encouraging sellers to perhaps cut the price a little bit to get closed.
Yeah.
So do you have any insight, any tips on, how to convince or educate or, bridge that gap between clients that, really, aren't willing to negotiate or don't see the big picture?
Right. First rule of influence. To influence someone, you must know what already influences them. To influence someone, you have to know what already influences them. So that comes through communication, whether they value certainty and security more than adventure or change. If that's the case, you got to speak to that certainty. You got to speak to that security because they need to know, I'm going to get my money. It's going to be safe. It's going to be protected. This thing is all going to go well. If someone is more adventurous, more variety driven, you have to know that they're influenced by that thought. And now you got to say, what's exciting about this? What's new about this? What changes about this? And when you have two people coming to the negotiation table and one values security and one values adventure, you have to have two very different conversations with two very different people. You have to show them how both of those needs can be met at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And everybody chime in with questions. I have a few more, but if you have in the chat box, let us know, or topics you want us to discuss. I guess, what common problems are brokers facing nationally? I mean, I guess New York's obviously we've been hit the hardest, but are there themes that you're seeing, or I guess maybe some some brokers that are now able to show apartments, able to do things.
Yeah, what's fascinating for me is,
or salespeople, I guess, right?
Yeah, pre-corona, post-corona, it hasn't changed. There's this graph, they call it a bell curve. There's the top 10% of brokers around the country. They're always the top 10% because they're always on calls like this. They're always hungry for new knowledge, hungry for new strategy, hungry for new psychology. They're always there. The top producers are the top producers because they behave like top producers. And then you got the middle. And then you got the bottom. Bottom producers are bottom producers no matter what the hell is going on. We've had one of the greatest economies for the last 13 years, and bottom producers stayed bottom producers. They had opportunities slapping them in the face, and they wouldn't take it.
Libby.
The difference is if you're stuck in the middle right now, and you're trying to become top producers, the challenge is not necessarily your strategy, it's your psychology. 100% of the time, anyone who's struggling in business, the greatest chokehold in any business is the psychology of the leader. 100%, that's what it is. And you hear someone say, we can't do this, we can't do that, it's not possible, nothing's possible, it'll never work out. That psychology is the reason why they're struggling to go from middle to top producer. Top producers say, I don't give a damn what somebody tells me, I'll find a way. Okay, maybe I can't enter an apartment. How the hell do I do it in spite of that? Maybe I physically can't be there. How do I do it in spite of that? That's what top producers do. The biggest challenge around the country, it's funny because it's the same challenge as it was beforehand now. Some of these states and areas are opening up a little bit faster than others. For them, it's so funny because the bottom producers are like, now that we're open, I'm going to be successful. No, they don't. It's just the middle producers. So Andrew and I, we were talking about this before. We've entered a different season. The season is winter. During winter, economic winter, psychological winter, we have to behave very differently. We have to think very differently. This is where you have to look at profit margins. This is where you have to look at the apples just aren't falling off the apple cart anymore. You're not just going to get somebody calling you, yeah, I'd like you to list my place. You got to seek it out. You got to reach it out. And I think, Andrew, you mentioned this before. Maybe it was today, maybe it was yesterday, whatever. But what you mentioned before is that it's been so easy for the last 10 years that all of a sudden we think that it should be that easy again, when nowadays it's just like, this is normal. It's just been easier than before, but now we're back to normal. And this is
never so easy in New York.
No, but sure.
I think the challenge we were having, to be transparent, the first quarter was we were having the best year by far. So our challenge was to keep it going and keep the level of service we want, and to make sure the service because the business was there. Now the challenge is different, right? Getting the business. So it's definitely in the snap of your fingers. It changed. This may be the same answers you just given and they just gave, but I guess the most impactful advice Tony ever gave you, or I think the biggest thing you've learned.
Man, there's so many little nuggets over the years, because I've been in different life cycles for myself. And when he says something that turns me around, I mentioned this before. I was homeless on the streets of Chicago, and I scraped together my food money to go see Tony Robbins, thinking it was going to be love and hugs and motivation. And, good job, little buddy. Truth was, it was a very direct conversation. I don't know if you've ever seen Tony Robbins live, but he's 6'7", 275. He's a big freaking boy. He literally got in my face and said, listen, kid, the reason you're failing at your life today is not because of a lack of resources out there. It's a lack of resourcefulness in here. You must find a way when everyone else tells you there isn't a way. You're a broke, stupid, young kid who doesn't have any money, doesn't have any resources. You got to find a way. And if there isn't a way, you freaking make a way. That's the attitude that you have to condition and embody and embrace every day of your life. And that really did change my life dramatically. And I learned that even though I had no money, I found a way to provide value more than anybody else in my market and my businesses. Even though I had no, support, I found a way to support myself and condition myself. I didn't have any mentors. I found books and CDs and audio programs that I could listen to that would lift me up when I had a hard time. So it's never a lack of resources. It's a lack of resourcefulness. There's a great video, if you guys have not seen it, it's on YouTube. It's Tony Robbins, Why People Do What They Do. It's one of the first TED Talks. And of course, the TED Talks, he's going there explaining human psychology. And Tony even says, hey, why do people fail? And people are like, well, I didn't have the technology. I didn't have this. I didn't have that. And then, of course, in the darkness, you hear, I didn't have enough Supreme Court justices. Well, of course, Al Gore is sitting in the front seat. And it's really funny because he goes on. He said, well, no, that's why I failed. And Tony says, look, no matter how true that is, that wasn't why you failed. If you were able to communicate with the emotion, the passion, the drive that you communicate when you communicate about climate change, you would have won that election. But you didn't because something else was holding you back. And it's just so funny because all of us are guilty of this. Every single one of us. The emotional state that we're in when we're confident, focused, driven, passionate, hungry. Like I love Andrew and Alan. Every time I hang out with these guys are so professional. They're so focused. They're so driven. And every time I get around, I get a little inspired to be a little bit more focused, a little bit more driven. And I love that attitude. And for all of us right now, as silly as it sounds, hanging out on a call like this on a Tuesday afternoon, here we are, just chit-chatting away. Just being around high producers, high performers, man, this gets me juiced. I don't know about you guys, but.
I think a lot of it's just taking baby steps, right? Just, not going from 1 to 10, but from 1 to 2 and just staying consistent with it.
Yeah. I was going to say one more thing here, Andrew. It's just, when in the Tony Robbins world, my job for Tony Robbins, I have 2 businesses on top of my full-time job with Tony Robbins. We start a cycle where we're going to go promote. Here's the New York cycle. So a couple of months in advance, I go to that area and I go out and reach out to all the people like Andrew and Alan and all these other brokerages, and not just real estate, but every industry I can get into. And I go speak give them value like we're doing today, and then pitch them on a Tony Robbins ticket. Every 3 or 4 months, I start over. So basically, I'm starting a brand new business every single time I go into a new cycle. Yes, I have some connections. Yes, I have some people that I can beat there, but I'm starting at 0 and I have to restart. What's so fascinating about right now, especially for you guys, a lot of you guys are going to start from 0. You're starting a brand new business right now. The question is, what do you want it to look like? If you were to start over today, what mistakes would you avoid? How would you shape your business? What would you do differently? How would you make it easier? I think every one of us, if we had the shot at starting over, we'd be like, oh yeah, I did this. I shouldn't have done that. And I should have done this part earlier. I think that's really what it boils down to, is that mentality of, okay, if we are starting over, let's freaking go, baby. Let's make it happen.
You know, I think a lot of it's just putting yourself out there, right? You know,
Yeah.
You emailed me. We met 2 years ago. You emailed me 2 months ago. Your assistant emailed me. I ignored the email. I told you this, you know, and then kind of the bell or the light bulb went up, and I started thinking, you know, hey, you know, I think this could be, you know, beneficial for everybody. You know, again, nobody wants to hear about attorney due diligence during the COVID crisis. So, you know, it wasn't, you know, I was on the phone for 12, 15 hours dealing with, you know, chaos. So, you know, it wasn't the right time. And that's, a lot of us will email, especially in salespeople, and, you know, following up 2 months later, 3 months later, things change. So I think that's encouraging, right? The way, you know, our world has shifted in 3 months, there is, you know, I think it's about like positioning yourself now that this is hopefully towards the end, right?
Yeah.
And even God forbid there's a second wave or something of that nature, you know, putting in effort now will certainly benefit, you know, in the long run. So we have about 10 minutes left. If anybody has any questions, Stephen, you want to wrap up a little bit?
Yeah, we can do that. And I'll just say, Andrew, as you're talking about this, it's so funny because yes, we're in winter, but the great thing about winter is it doesn't last. Spring is soon to follow. And you got to have that mentality. You know, hell, we were talking about this, you know, just before I get on this call. 9/11 happens. New York City was probably the strongest and most powerful and most courageous community that there was. You walk around the streets and people were just like so loving towards each other, so passionate towards each other. And I haven't been there yet. You know, I'm going to come back to the city as soon as I can here, but I'm guessing it's going to be the same freaking mentality, that people are going to look out for each other more. People are going to care about each other more. People are going to go out above and beyond their way. I'm from Minnesota. So we have this all the time. Minnesota nice. Like you walk down the street and everyone's like, hey, hey, hey. It's so funny to see that in New York when people don't tell me to go to hell when I wave at them and say hi. You know?
Yeah. No, everybody will definitely, it's a whole different, you know, mentality for sure.
Yeah.
We'll be happy to see each other.
Yeah, it'll be so much fun. But here's the deal, guys. Normally at this point, I would pitch you guys on this whole Tony Robbins thing. I don't really have much to pitch you. I do have a coaching business that I do. I charge $2,000 a month for my coaching. And why the hell do I charge that much? I've had 19 people in my group. It was a private group this last year. Out of the 19, I had one guy quadruple his business, went from 1 million to 4 million. 5 people tripled, 3 people doubled. Listen, if you guys want coaching, you want to go through this stuff, kind of like we talked about today, but quite a bit more structured and focused and goal-oriented, I'm going to give you that coaching for free. If you guys want to jump in, I've got a little Facebook group. Here's my only ask of you. I've been doing this for everybody for a couple of weeks now. You can join in the group. I just posted the link in the chat. It's a Facebook group, and then on the top of it, pinned to the top, is a little instructions to log into like the membership site and videos and training. We go live every Monday and just do a training. I'm doing a Q&A tomorrow as well. It's all psychology based, but Andrew and Alan especially, they were kind of like, look, we don't just want inspiration, we don't want motivation, we want you to give something to people, and here's something that I can give you. You know, like I said, 85% of our revenue was live events. We can't do live events right now. So here's the thing. I'm giving this coaching away for everybody who wants to be a part of it. But if you're going to join, please participate. Don't just join and give it up. I mean, I want you to join and really dig in because, you know, as Tony would say, we don't want happy customers. We want life change. So I'll give that to you. If you guys want to join, great, fantastic, freaking cool. I hope that's beneficial. And then, you know, the last thing I would say, here's my ask for you. I do have like discounted tickets to Unleash Power Within for people who want to do that. When we can do that again, here's my ask. You join this group, you make a ton of freaking money, and you pay it forward. You give someone who's in a tough place, you give them one of these tickets. Every ticket that we sell, you know, all of this goes to charity anyways. We do Feeding America, 100, 200, 300 meals. Tony matches every dollar that I raise. So these tickets are basically charity. So that would be my only ask for you. So if you're successful now, grab a ticket for someone who's struggling. If you're struggling right now, come in, get the results, and then get one later.
You know, just getting out a few texts actually. The link, I guess, do you have to be logged into Facebook or for it to work? Sometimes it's not
yeah, probably. Yeah, I see a bunch of people are already doing it. But there's a link inside of that Facebook group as well, Kristen.
So, well, I'll email everybody, you know, as well. And there's no, you don't have to buy any tickets. It's free, right?
Yeah.
So it's just registering.
Yep. So you go into the Facebook group, you log in. There's a lot of communication inside of there, but there's also a membership site. You don't got to buy anything. You don't have to do anything. If you want to get UPW tickets, great, fantastic. Almost everyone in that group has either has a ticket already or has been to an event before. So just so you understand that some of these people are pretty advanced when it comes to Tony Robbins stuff, but it's a great freaking community. So cool.
All right. Thank you so much, Stephen. Hope everybody enjoyed it. We try to do something a little different, you know, let's all stay in touch. And I'm going to send an email, Stephen's information, and the Facebook link, so if anybody wants to reach out to him separately.
Yeah. You can ask me any questions, send me notes, whatever. That's fine too.
All right. And have a great night, everybody.
Thank you so much, everyone. What an awesome session. Everybody be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
You guys freaking rock.
Thank you, Stephen.
See you later, guys.
Take care, everyone. Until the next time.
Bye.